Welcome to Boards, Beer, and BS, Snomie.com podcast where snowboard pros, coaches, and local riders hang out, have a drink, and talk snowboarding. My name is Jedidiah Tan, snowboard coach and founder of Snomie.com. If you like hanging out with other snowboarders and talking about snowboarding, this is the podcast for you. So sit back and enjoy the podcast. Alright guys, welcome to this episode of the Snomie.com Snowboard Podcast. So this is episode 6, I believe it is. So here are the topics we're going to be talking about today. We're going to cover when is the right time to start learning switch and why it's important to get your timing right with learning switch. We're going to cover snowboarding and relationships. We're going to talk about why snowboard reviews are useless, even though everyone loves looking online for snowboard reviews and they're insanely popular online, but generally, they're pretty useless, and we're going to talk about why. Then we're also going to cover Jamie Anderson, of course. So Jamie Anderson posed nude in the ESPN athlete body issue, so we're going to talk about that. So yeah, we're going to also cover some reader questions and things that you guys have asked me over the past week or two. So yeah, let's get into the podcast. This week, our podcast is brought to you by the Snomie.com Snowboard Trick Secrets Freestyle Training Program. So this is a step-by-step video trick tip tutorial that takes you way beyond any trick tips you'll find on YouTube or anything like that. These are in-depth, insanely detailed step-by-step video tutorials that don't just cover the trick but tell you what to do before the trick, after the trick, and how to land tricks more consistently and just get stylish tricks instead of just giving you a short 2-minute explanation of freestyle tricks. So if you're interested in that, make sure you sign up for free freestyle lessons at snomie.com. That's snomie.com/snowboard trick secrets. That's where you can get started with our free freestyle training program. All right, so this week, remember, if you need any show notes, if you want to check out the links for any topics I talk about, you can go to snomie.com/episode 6, the number 6. So that's where you'll find links to all the show notes, anything I talk about. If I talk about a topic, let's say Jamie Anderson posing nude in ESPN, you'll find a link in that description. So go to snomie.com/episode 6 for all the show notes. Okay, so let's get into the podcast for this week. So first topic, when is the right time to start learning switch? So this is something that I get asked all the time. It's probably in the top 5 or 10 snowboard questions that comes up constantly. And here's the thing, with switch snowboarding, there's pretty much never a wrong time to start learning switch. And in fact, you should do it as soon as you can. So, I mean, I wouldn't start learning switch when you're not even able to turn regular yet. So obviously you want to be able to at least make some turns riding regular and get down green runs and that sort of thing. But once you can do that, you should jump straight into switch riding. So switch riding is one of those things that the longer you leave it, the more it's going to suck for you later. Because here's the thing about switch. No one likes riding switch at first. Okay, so it's just not fun because you're going to be able, let's say you've ridden for 50 days on a snowboard and then you start learning to ride switch. That's when you're going to be zooming down blue runs, you're riding some black runs maybe even, and you're having fun. Then you go to ride switch and it just sucks because now you're stuck on green runs, face planting. It's just not fun. So you do now for you guys at home, think about this. How many of you guys have tried to ride switch and then say, well, this sucks, I'm gonna go ride regular again, right? And that happens all the time, constantly. Everyone struggles with this problem. And the longer you leave it, the bigger that gap grows between your regular riding and your switch riding, which is why you should learn switch as soon as possible so that you can get your switch up to that level where it's not so much of a hassle anymore, where it's okay because that level gap between your switch riding and your regular riding doesn't suck as much, right? And look, I know it's not fun sometimes to ride switch. And if you're not into freestyle, you're not into a lot of other things, you don't necessarily have to learn switch, right? I mean, I know guys that are pretty good snowboarders that can't ride switch at all. And they're perfectly fine with that because they don't want to do freestyle. They are perfectly happy just riding one direction. But if you're at all interested in freestyle, it's pretty much mandatory. You have to learn switch at some point, and it's better to start earlier than later. And as well as that, for people that sometimes find their back leg gets tired when they're riding powder, or the back leg just gets tired when they're riding, then what you can do is you can switch over, right? If you can ride switch, you just swap your front foot around and then you're riding the other way and your leg can rest. So it's just a good skill in general. It'll make you a better snowboarder to learn switch as soon as possible. And the way to do it is just force yourself to do it. You know, the more time you spend riding switch, the better. For me personally, I try to ride switch, say 30 to 50% of the time when I'm riding. So anytime I'm in the park, maybe it's a difficult trick that I can't do switch. Obviously, I'm not going to do that switch, right? But then maybe I'm riding down a blue run, and I'm not getting much out of riding regular on the blue run because, you know, it's something I've done 1,000 times before and my technique's pretty good on the blue run. So I ride switch. So that's what kind of one of the rules I apply to myself when I'm learning to improve my switch. So it's a constant journey, you know, you never stop progressing your switch, just like you never stop progressing your regular riding. It's just important to keep your switch up there, you know, not to let it fall so far behind that you just never want to ride switch anymore. That's the key, basically, to riding switch. Just force yourself to do it. It'll get easier and it'll get more fun because you'll be able to do things like 180s, butter tricks, all sorts of fun stuff once you can ride switch. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's swap gears a little bit. Let's talk about some questions that came in. So I got a question from one of the readers asking, how do you deal with snowboarding and relationships? And, you know, here's the thing. For a lot of people that are snowboard bums, now I know this doesn't apply to everyone. Some people are weekend warriors, so you might be someone that only goes snowboarding a few times a year, and you live in a city, and that really doesn't apply to you as far as the whole relationships aspects of being a snowboard bum. But for those who do want that goal, they want to move to a ski resort, they want to move to a ski town, they want to be able to snowboard 100 to 200 days a year. I'll be honest, you know, the whole relationship aspect of it can be a little difficult. Because for starters, look, you're in a small ski town, the population of guys to girl is tiny. You know, for every guy, there's probably 5 to 10 guys for every girl. And a lot of the girls are already taken. You know, they're in relationships, they're locals, you know, they've got their boyfriends, they're already set up. So what you end up doing is a lot of people end up dating tourists or people visiting and that sort of thing. And then what happens is at the end of the season, they have to go home, or their visa runs out, or you have to leave, or something like that. So it is a really difficult thing when it comes to snowboarding and relationships for people that are snowboard bums. And I guess as far as like my advice on how you can make it work, I guess I'm probably one of the few people I know that have made it work. So I mean, I'm living in 4 or 5 different countries over the course of a year, and I'm in a 5-year relationship now. So yeah, you can make it work. The main thing is you just have to communicate. I mean, I know this is cliche or whatever, but if you really like a girl, just communicate, you know, get on Skype, talk once a day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You know, see how each other's day is going, things like that. It just comes down to trust and communication. But I will tell you, it's not easy. I've seen relationship after relationship fall apart from friends, people I've met. You know, it's snowboarding, living a snowboard bum lifestyle and getting into serious relationships isn't something that's very easy. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's work, you know, it's a little bit of work. You're going to have to make it work. If it means that much to you, you find someone that you really like, you're going to have to make it work. You know, at the end of the day, someone's going to have to move, probably. You know, someone's going to have to move, someone's going to have to uproot themselves, or you're both going to have to move somewhere. But at some point, you have to figure out a plan, because most likely, if you're in a relationship as a snowboarder at a ski town or something like that, one or both of you will have visa issues or have to leave at some point. So that's just how it goes, and it's just something you have to deal with, you know. Long distance relationships may be part of the thing, and that's just, like I said, relationships and how it goes. You just have to deal with it and communicate. So yeah, I mean, there's no simple solution. That's just something you have to deal with when the time comes, you know, if you find that right person. So while we're on the topic, you know, I got some questions. Some guys were asking me, hey, they saw some of my recent vlogs or other things, and I mentioned that I'm in Korea right now. So I'm recording this from Seoul in South Korea. So why am I in Korea? And yeah, I mean, I can talk about that. So basically, Snomie.com runs itself. So I just, I work on a lot of things in the back end. So I run the membership site, I record videos, I answer emails, and that's a lot of email that comes in. And yeah, but I can do that from anywhere in the world. It's all online, it's all on a computer. So I'm not really committed. I don't have to stay in any particular place. And for me, that just means, look, I can move to any city I want and just keep doing my job. I could be in Timbuktu right now as long as I've got an internet connection. It doesn't affect my business at all. It's an online website, so it brings in money for myself and keeps my career going no matter where I am. So that's why I'm in Korea. And I guess why I am actually, why did I pick Korea as the city to come to is that my girlfriend's here. So it just makes sense. And like I said on the last topic, snowboarding relationships, you're going to have to make it work, right? And I met my girlfriend in Whistler. I was a snowboard instructor and just snowboarding, and she worked at the checkout in one of the grocery stores in Whistler. And yeah, so like I said, someone always has to move. Someone has visa issues. That's just how it is. And if you want to make it work, someone's going to have to move around or uproot themselves, or you have to find some way. So that's why I'm in Korea anyway. And I mean, besides that, I kind of like moving around the place. Although I do want to settle into one place eventually. I kind of enjoy being able to, go wherever I want, thanks to my job working online on Snomie.com. So yeah, I just travel a lot. So typically I'm in how many countries I'm in? So typically I'm in Australia, Canada, Singapore, and Korea over the course of every year. So Singapore because my parents are there, Australia because my friends and family are there, Canada because obviously Whistler's there, and Seoul, Korea because my girlfriend's here. So I'm kind of all over the place, but thankfully because of my job with Snomie.com, I can travel and work, and yeah, it doesn't really affect me having to move all the time. So that's the answer to the question anyway. So yeah, let's get back into some snowboard topics. So here's something that a lot of people don't realize. Why snowboard reviews are useless. Okay? Snowboard reviews are just, on a whole, they're pretty useless. And a lot of people don't really understand why, because they think, okay, I'm going to buy a snowboard. What should I do? I should look for reviews. So they look online for reviews. They think, okay, this snowboard's okay. I should buy this. But here's the thing. Most snowboard reviews, firstly, for the biggest problem is that they suck. Most snowboard reviews are done by websites and companies that are afraid to say any negative things, basically, about a board or about the company. And most snowboard review websites are set up solely to get traffic from Google for people searching for snowboard reviews, and to get them to click on the link to buy the board from their special link on their website and make money from the sale of the snowboard. So here's the problem with it, is that they don't benefit from saying anything bad about the snowboard. So for starters, if they say something bad about a snowboard, the people are probably not going to buy the snowboard. So that's already not good when you're supporting yourself by, people buying snowboards from your website or clicking links on your website to buy snowboards. And the second big problem is that people don't realize the hardest part about a snowboard review website is that you need access to all these boards. And a lot of people have asked me over the years, hey, Jed, why don't you do snowboard reviews, And on a business sense, it would make a lot of sense for me. They're the most searched thing on Google. If I started doing snowboard reviews, I'd get way more traffic on Snomie.com. But I don't do them because, one, they're useless, as I'm explaining now, and two, there's a huge headache of trying to get access to all these snowboards. So, I mean, how many snowboards get released every single year, right? And then you have to test the snowboards thoroughly. So you're going to have to go out riding on each snowboard, and then you're going to have to check how it performs in the park and the powder and all of this. It's a really detailed process if you're actually testing out the snowboard, unlike a lot of crummy snowboard review websites out there that just write out a copy of a basic description of the board and say that's a review. So yeah, I mean, I think like there's room for a website to make amazing snowboard reviews, but the problem is, as I'm about to explain, is let's say you get your boards from Burton or K2 or whatever else, and they send you boards to test, which is which is pretty common, you know. If a snowboard company wants you to review their product, get them traffic online, they might send you a free test board if you're a big enough website. So then you find out, okay, this board sucks. So your review is basically just saying how this board is crap and there are better snowboards out there, and then you're telling them to go buy the competing snowboard. Now, whoever's sending you that snowboard isn't going to like that review. So they're going to say, hey, yeah, we're not going to send you snowboards anymore. So then you're stuck, and then you're kind of in this position, well, crap, how do I get snowboards to test now? Right? So that's why you don't see many snowboard review websites give bad reviews. Most of the time you see, look at all the scores on snowboard review sites. A lot of them, they'll be like, oh, this is an 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And that range of 7.5 up to 10 out of 10 is like 99% of all their reviews. And if all the boards are getting the same marks, then what the heck is the point of the snowboard review? You're basically saying all the snowboards are the same. So that's the big problem, is that it's very hard to be unbiased and fair as a snowboard review website that survives on getting demo boards and things like that. That's why you see a lot of the decent snowboard review websites out there. They work by either having a close relationship with certain companies that are okay with them taking a bad review from time to time, or they go to snowboard demos and they just demo over the course of 3 days. They'll try 50 boards or whatever it is. They'll try every single board they can get their hands on, and that's how they test out and review their snowboards. So it's not a perfect system, really. I mean, if it was easy to get access to a whole ton of snowboards to review and test and all of that, then I'm sure there'd be a lot more good snowboard review websites out there. But right now, I mean, the decent ones are agnachi.com. So I'll put links in the show notes, so you guys don't have to try to figure this out. It's all in the show notes at snomie.com/episode 6. So snomie.com/episode 6. So agnachi.com, those guys, yeah, they do solid reviews. I know some of those guys because we're both running online websites, and they're pretty cool guys. So agnachi.com, Dave over at agnachi.com, he does solid reviews. angrysnowboarder.com, Avron over there, he does very non-biased reviews, so he's not afraid to slam a snowboard if it sucks. Shayboarder, although I don't think she does it anymore. Shayboarder reviews a lot of snowboards as well. Her reviews are pretty good as well. So there are some decent review websites out there, but a lot of them suck. A lot of them will have some ridiculous scale, like 8 out of 10, and then you look at the review system and 99% of the snowboards are 8 out of 10 or somewhere around that range, and it doesn't tell you jack about the snowboard, right? So, which leads me to another point with why snowboard reviews are kind of useless, is that a lot of people starting out who are buying snowboards aren't the 100, 200 day a year snowboarder, right? When they need the reviews, that is, they're not those types of snowboarders. They're the guys that are just getting into snowboarding. That's when they're buying their snowboard, and those guys don't really know what they want a lot of the times, and even if they know what they want, they're not able to get the performance out of a snowboard. So when you're at that stage of snowboarding, 99% of snowboards that you can pick are fine for what you want. You know, like I'll get people asking me, you know, what park snowboard should I buy? And sure, there are park snowboards that I prefer, that I think are a little bit better than others. But for 99% of people that are still working on learning their first 180, their first 360, I could recommend probably 20 different park snowboards out there. And for their situation, they're probably not going to even tell the difference as far as the snowboard goes. because that's just where their riding level is at. And here's the thing, snowboards have come a long way since they first were made, and these days most snowboards are pretty decent. You're not going to find a snowboard that's just completely horrible, so bad that you can't learn how to snowboard on it, or you can't learn how to do a 180, you can't do 360s or whatever. You can learn tricks on pretty much anything these days, or learn on previous snowboarding on pretty much any snowboard these days, even ones that good reviewers will say suck. So that's just how far snowboards have come, that all snowboards are pretty decent. The gap between a low reviewed snowboard, a snowboard that people say sucks, and a top snowboard isn't as big as people think, especially for people that can't utilize, or they don't have the skill level to access the 100% of the snowboard's abilities. So that's why I think, on a whole, don't get hung up on gear, don't get hung up on that sort of thing. For the most part, you know what, a good video for you guys to watch, I'll put it in the show notes, is Avren over at angrysnowboarder.com made this video where he got a pro rider to take this huge powder snowboard and go into the park and do park tricks on it, hit jibs. And for 99% of people out there, they'll say, oh, this is a huge powder snowboard, there's no way you can be doing park tricks on it, this is what's holding back my riding. But the video is the proof. You can, this guy's on this ridiculous huge powder snowboard that's not symmetrical, and it's pretty much the worst gear one of the worst things he could pick for doing park tricks, and he's killing it doing smooth park tricks on this giant powder snowboard. So don't worry about the gear so much, okay? I mean, worry about the gear in that don't buy something stupid for what you want. So at least get a rough idea, be in the ballpark of what you want, but don't be so worried about it that you start worrying about, oh no, my gear's holding me back, or this or that. It's okay. Your gear doesn't have to be perfect. And even if your snowboard isn't reviewed as the greatest snowboard of this season or whatever it is, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. So that's my take on snowboard reviews anyway, and I know a lot of guys that will agree with this as far as snowboard reviews go. So, and the funny thing is, if you go ask Avren over at angrysnowboarder.com what he thinks of snowboard reviews, he says he hates it, and that's not an uncommon feeling, because the thing is, reviewing snowboard sucks. If you're a snowboarder, an avid snowboarder, you don't want to be riding bunny hills or testing out snowboards that aren't ideal for what you want to do. You want to be just riding and going snowboarding, right? And it's not exactly a fun thing to be doing. And as well as that, he knows how useless snowboard reviews are to a lot of people. So if you went up to a 100-day rider, a 200-day-a-year rider, someone who's a veteran who's been riding for 10 years or whatever it is, they don't care about what some snowboard review says. They'll buy the snowboard they want that is right for them. They don't care if this reviewer said it wasn't good or whatever. They know what they want. And that's something that becomes a lot more clearer the more you snowboard, which is why I always recommend, look, if it's your first season, maybe rent a snowboard at first. Get a feel of what you like first. There's no need to jump straight into buying a snowboard right away. Chances are you don't really know what you want anyway. So let yourself have some time to progress your snowboarding a little and find out what you really want, and then buy the snowboard setup. So yeah, that's my take on snowboard reviews anyway. So yeah, let's jump topics a bit. That was a long rant and talk about snowboard reviews. Let's talk about Jamie Anderson. So Jamie Anderson posed nude in the, I think it was the ESPN body issue, but yeah, links again in the show notes. But yeah, and it's been a weird response. There's been, obviously all the guys love it, because there's some cute snowboarder girl getting half naked or fully naked in some magazine, so they're all for it. But the reception from the female community has been a little bit weird. There's some girls who are all for it and say, yeah, good for her. She's snowboarding, she's enjoying what she's doing, she's making money, she's not afraid to go pose like that. And there are other female riders, and there was one particular article, I think it was in White Lines, where the girl was basically saying how this isn't what Jamie Anderson should be doing. Female snowboarders should be just snowboarding and being known for that and not for looking good or for their body or whatever it is. And from one aspect of it, I mean, I'm not a female, so yeah, obviously take that with a grain of salt. But from one aspect of it, I can understand, female snowboarders want to be known for their snowboarding. There's the phrase, she rides like a guy, which in a way kind of puts down female snowboarders because you're just reinforcing the fact that, they're just copying guys or they're not their own thing or whatever it is. But yeah, and I saw this huge post on White Lines where the girl was basically saying, she shouldn't be doing this and it's not good for the progression of female snowboarding and all that. But I don't know if I can agree with that, honestly. I saw that and I thought, you know what? It's not like she was even doing this in how do I put it? In a sleazy way. The photo shoot wasn't done in that sort of way. It's the ESPN body issue, which is where they take athletes, male and female, and do very artsy, kind of to just show the bodies of athletes, and it's not done something as if it's like, oh, look at this hot female snowboarder, she's posing in a bikini or whatever, they're not so much targeting her for that. They're just getting athletes and showing their bodies in a very artsy way. And so in a way, I don't really understand the outrage. But I don't know. Again, I'm not female, so whatever, right? But I thought it was fine, I have no problem with it. If she wants to go do it, fine. I mean, Louis Vito, if I remember right, did the exact same thing. He posed nude. He's a guy, I don't feel like Louis Vito was bringing down male snowboarding by posting nude. So that's my take on it anyway. So I say, yeah, whatever, good for her. If she wants to go do it, then she can go do it. It's not like it was some sleazy kind of thing. She was in there with a whole bunch of other top athletes and other people. So yeah, well, good for her if she wants to go do it. So yeah, let's change the topic a bit. We've been a bit serious for a little while. So let's start wrapping up and let's start talking about something a bit more amusing. So someone asked me about stories from New Zealand, what some snowboard shenanigans and things that have happened. And yeah, so one interesting thing that happened is I discovered in my early seasons in New Zealand something called professional pro-hoing. So for those who don't know, a lot of people call the pro-hos the people that, they're the groupies. They're the people that kind of try to just hang around the pro snowboarders. They want to get in on their group or whatever and join in on that. And what I discovered was there's a technique that some people will do, or rather my former friend in New Zealand, or well, not former, I guess we're still friends or whatever, but he has this tactic called professional pro-hoing on Facebook, where he tactically gets friends with professional snowboarders by targeting people who are friends of the pro snowboarders, adding them on Facebook first as a friend, and then after they accept, then adding the professional snowboarder as a friend. So his tactic here is he says that basically what happens is the pro snowboarder will look at friend requests and say, oh, I've got 5 friends in common with this guy. I must have met him at a party or something. So they approved a friend request. And by doing this, he apparently is friends with all like a huge amount of big pro athletes on Facebook. Although in saying that, I'm not sure if that's like, is that something that's hard to do? Because I know a lot of pro snowboarders and things like my friend Jeff Brown, he's been on past interviews and things on Snomie before, and he just approves every single friend request. It's gotten to a point where he just doesn't care anymore. He gets so many random friend requests, he'll just approve everything. And he just treats his Facebook more as like a business thing than as a personal interaction thing. So yeah, I mean that's something interesting that happened to me anyway. And on that note, we're going a bit long. Let's wrap it up here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Snomie podcast. Remember, the show notes are all at snomie.com episode 6. So that's where you can go and get all the show notes for all the links and stories and things I talked about today. And remember, if you guys are interested in learning any snowboard tricks and learning how to do cool butter tricks, hit jumps better, and you want step-by-step tutorials that don't suck, so they're not the 2-minute crummy YouTube trick tips, then sign up for our free snowboard freestyle lessons at snomie.com. So snomie.com/snowboard trick secrets. All right. So if you enjoyed this podcast, remember you guys can always subscribe. The links are in the descriptions and in the show notes. We're on iTunes, YouTube. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.